Today's topic is double negatives. Double negatives are mistakes that occur when two negative words are used in the same sentence. Two negative words in a sentence makes that sentence very confusing. Negative words include things like neither, never, nobody, not, nothing, none, no, nowhere, didn't, haven't, wasn't. So many of the contractions that have the N apostrophe T at the end. Negative prefixes such as dis, non, and un because they all mean not. And then words with negative meanings barely, hardly, scarcely. There are probably more than this, but this is a good sampling. So we have an example. George couldn't find nothing in his desk. Well, if you take it at face value, you basically made it a positive, but that's not correct. So look, George couldn't find nothing in his desk. So he could find everything in his desk? That's what it reads as, and that's very confusing because it's not what you mean. There are three ways to correct a double negative. They are changing the second negative into a positive, so the second negative word becomes the positive, so none becomes any, would be an example. Remove the negative part of the contraction, so you take off the N apostrophe T. So can't becomes can. You have to put in the N just so you know. Remove the first negative. So in that example sentence, we would take out, let's look at it again. We would take out the couldn't, and we would change it to George finds nothing in his desk. All right, so the second negative word changed to a positive is the first way we talked about. So we would say George couldn't find anything in his desk instead of nothing. We made it nothing into anything. Here are some other words where you can change them into the positive. So no or none becomes any. Nothing becomes anything. Because nothing is no thing, while anything is all things. Neither and either, or either, excuse me. No one becomes anyone. Nowhere becomes anywhere. Nobody becomes anybody, and never becomes ever. Or you can just remove the N apostrophe T from a contraction. If it already ends in N, you need to keep the N, is what I was trying to say earlier. All right, so remove the negative part of a contraction. So in our example, George couldn't find nothing in his desk. We would make it George could find nothing in his desk. So notice I took off the N apostrophe T. Excuse me. We could remove the first negative word. So our first negative word in the George couldn't example would be couldn't. So we would say George finds nothing in his desk. Let's try another one together. There's two ways we can fix it. Jess can't do nothing right. I would write this all down in my notes just so I can have an extra example. It's always good to have as many examples as possible in your notes. So we could change this by making the first negative into a positive. So Jess can do nothing right. And then the second one is we remove the first negative. It would be Jess does nothing right. So we have to make it grammatically correct. So when we put in that can't, it does change the verb a little bit. All right, here's your turn. Fix the following double negative. Write the correct sentence. Leo, don't know nothing about it. Sounds like the book that we read, The Mayor of Central Park. There were a lot of double negatives in that book. So go ahead and fix the sentence and bring it to class.